and working with mission-driven organizations is because honestly, that's where my heart is.
Mm.
Absolutely love it to where I do not work with any brands who do not have a community message, something, a community impact that they would have. Either it's a message that lends itself to the broader community, something that we can tell a story and have it make a difference, make an impact on that. I love being able to do that in my job.
I love that too. And it's heart-filling to hear that you have that same sentiment, and it shows through the work that you do. So thank you for that. Welcome to another episode of the Elevate Your Impact series. I'm Jamila Robinson, your host and the founder of Elevate Your Impact, where we help amplify the stories and missions of nonprofits. So one of the biggest challenges that I hear from nonprofits often is, well, we're doing all this great work. How come nobody's picking up our story? And the truth is, visibility doesn't just happen. It's built through strategy, guys. And so today we're talking about something very important that every nonprofit needs, and that's public relations. And so who did I think of with this very important topic? Somebody who has already helped us through our charity, Missing Pieces Support Group. And she did it quite well. So I could not have anyone else sit in this chair to talk about PR other than Felicia Perez with FAR Public Relations. Thanks for joining us today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, Jamila.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this conversation. So let's just dig right in.
Mm-hmm.
What led you into PR and specifically working with mission-driven organizations?
Well, I'll have to tell you, Jamila, it's not a unique story. I will definitely dive into this where you see a lot of former journos or former journalists,
yes,
going into PR, and so that's really was my story. I started off in broadcast journalism as undergrad, and I loved telling stories through the media lens.
Mm-hmm.
That was something I've always been really passionate about, writing and telling people stories. So I was a reporter and a producer for about 15 years in broadcast news. And so I put that journalism hat on quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever I worked here in Houston locally at ABC 13 and KHOU. And while I was at KHOU, toward the last couple of years I was there, I was also getting my master's in PR.
Okay.
And the reason why I decided to really jump into it is because I had worked with a lot of public relations professionals as a producer who brought on guests on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I had started talking with them about what they were doing. And it seemed really interesting to get the other side of being the ones who are responsible for getting the stories told.
Mm-hmm.
And in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to get immersed into that. And while getting my master's at UH, go Cougs, I have to plug in, right?
Yeah, I'll ignore that. Red Raider for life over here.
Right. But so as I was doing that, I understood more about the research behind why audiences perceive brands and businesses the way they do. And getting into there's actually terms for these things, the reasons that and it's not unique. We're not reinventing the wheel all the time.
Right.
There are certain behaviors that audiences have. And so I take that right into what I'm doing with the, getting messages told through media. And the reason why I am working with mission-driven organizations is because honestly, that's where my heart is. Absolutely love it to where I do not work with any brands who do not have a community message. Something, a community impact that they would have. Either it's a message that lends itself to the broader community, something that we can tell a story and have it make a difference, make an impact on that. I love being able to do that in my job.
I love that too. And it's heart-filling to hear that you have that same sentiment, and it shows through the work that you do. So thank you for that.
But you have a great organization there with Missing Pieces Support Group, and you
Thank
have your
you.
own business too. So with marketing, you know exactly what all of that goes into.
It's similar to your background. What a reporter's looking before,
Yeah.
and you can bring that to the other side of the table as you're trying to amplify these stories. So
Yeah.
they just kind of go both hand in hand.
Well, and that's why I have the FAR focused framework. So FAR Public Relations is the name of my business, and so we have FAR focus, which we have the set the foundation, the F, right? We're looking at the discovery phase of whenever I do start working with a nonprofit, or working with an organization or business that has a community impact, right? Looking at the foundation. Okay, so where are we at right now? What's the baseline? Like how many people are attending the events? How many people are following your Instagram account?
Yes.
How many? What's your website traffic look like? All the foundation of that, right? And then after that, we can start building the strategy. And as you mentioned at the very beginning, strategy is something where it's so incredibly important to have a visibility for what you're
Mhm.
doing, right?
Absolutely.
So amplification of your message. So looking into ways and tactics for you to do that. Do you need to have spokespersons trained before you actually do media outreach? It's a
Yes.
lot of that, right?
Yes.
So it's like, yeah, so you get the media interview, now what?
Yeah.
And so looking at what we're doing with the media interviews after you already are on air or in print or online, however you're getting your message out there. And then, of course, the last thing is reach with R. So, looking at ways you can expand that message in the most effective ways. It's not, it shouldn't just be like you're on media and that's it. Like you post and forget or you,
Mhm.
anything like
Mhm.
that. It's something to where you continue to revisit the message over and over. So
I love that.
that's what I journey I take each one of my clients and partners with.
That's great. Okay, here's a question that gets asked a lot, and a lot of nonprofit and even business professionals struggle with the difference in differentiating. But what is the difference between marketing and PR?
Jamila, I get this question so much.
Yep.
um, so first and foremost, marketing is mostly that one-way communication
Right.
where you have a message that you are putting out there for people
Hmm.
to hear. Like you have something that you're selling or a service you're providing or something that you have an education component, you're putting the message out there.
Yep.
Um for PR, it's more about the strategic communication process of building mutually beneficial relationships. You're looking at the reputation, you're looking at the prolonged impact. Um whenever you have an organization and like a nonprofit and you think about PR, I would first and foremost have really strong marketing.
Yes.
You need to be able to have that vision, have your mission, have like all of these messages set who you are. You have an identity of who you are as an
Hmm.
organization
Hmm.
before you put that message out into the world, right?
Absolutely. Not afterwards, folks. Not afterwards.
So that we have an entire like strategy to move with it. So I work with a lot of marketing teams. That's primarily whenever I am working with especially larger organizations. I work with their marketing and communications team because it's that other component. Like, well, we have our email marketing, right? Because that goes email. We
Hmm.
have like the people who already know about us in our social media bubble,
Right.
and now PR is about amplifying that like outside of the bubble.
Right.
And so whenever you talk about media relations, it's like, well, why? Like the biggest question I always get, biggest question whenever whenever somebody gets services and they're like, can you get me on TV? They
Hmm.
ask, can you get me on
Of
TV?
course. That's what PR equals, right?
I and my first question back to them is, why do you want to be on TV?
Right.
Because who's and honestly, and like this comes from a broadcast background, who's watching TV?
My mother and her friends that are
Yeah.
retired.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's and then with TV they have certain demographics they're trying to hit. They
Yes.
and this comes more into that strategy for their ends. When we talk about mutually beneficial relationships, you're looking at media who are they're trying to reach, and they're general public, but more than just general public, trying to reach women
Right.
ages
Demographics.
35 to 55,
Hmm.
and most of those are mothers, and they're usually like blue collar working families, right? And so, if that's who you're trying to reach, that's a really that's a great way to include into what you're already doing, right?
Yes.
But honestly, don't expect more registrants necessarily for your event because you're on that. It's more about the awareness, getting more brand recognition out there. The more you amplify it after, is so important. And
Yes.
so looking at, yes, including that in your newsletter, including that as like a third party validation
Yes.
for your brand, and for you as a subject matter expert. So if that's something that you're wanting to do, if you're a solo brand, that's another thing too. So that's a really big misconception there. I would also add into this one of the biggest myths when people hear about the word PR, they get really nervous almost because they think of crisis, like something
Yes.
has to have gone
Yes.
wrong.
What is the plan for the crisis? Uh-huh.
And they think about spin, and they think negatively sometimes about like, well, you only bring in PR whenever,
Yes.
something hits the fan,
How do we
right?
spin the story? Yes.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And actually, PR is making sure that doesn't happen. So it comes in way earlier. We're the
Hmm.
ones also building the crisis communications plans so that, and we're in the boardrooms, or we're in with the C-suite to make sure that they also think of the community. Again, mutually beneficial relationships. We want to help the community. So making sure that, everything's on the up and up. It's ethical.
Yep.
And so having someone in PR in the very beginning is really helpful in helping make sure your message stays on track. And but also to make sure that you're hitting the right audiences in the most effective ways, and also making sure your issues don't become a crisis.
That's right. I mean, because you can't avoid crisis situations without
Yeah.
that forecasting, then that pre-planning that you help organizations
Yeah.
think through.
And
That's great.
the biggest thing, if you were to take one takeaway from this, in this whole interview, I mean, if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail.
Amen.
And
Point.
that's PR in a nutshell.
Nothing more, nothing less. So let's continue to bust myths in this lane. I
Yeah,
love that
yeah,
you
yeah.
you are dealing in the truth. Here's another question for you. Is PR only for bigger organizations?
Oh, absolutely not. And I think the hardest thing though is that budget comes into
Right.
mind.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to budget and you're looking at the ROI on things, return on investment, it really is about, well, I'm spending X amount of money and I'm not getting X amount of money back.
Mm-hmm.
But you sometimes can't put, and not sometimes, you really can't put
No.
any amount of money on reputation or brand recognition. A lot of times you don't know who knows about your brand, who it's been able to reach.
Right.
And that's just the reality of it. We have all these vanity metrics we can pull in, right? Like the amount of reach in media, or
Mhm.
the what we call AVE, or advertising value equivalency, of like, the reach that it would have been if, you would have paid for some sort of advertising with that media organization,
Mhm.
right? Or
Mhm.
sponsored content.
Yeah.
But those are all really, they're vanity metrics, because honestly, at the end of the day, they don't provide more funds. But at the end of, like, say, a year, you really start seeing like more people that you're running into saying, "Oh, I've heard of that."
Right.
And that's really what you're looking for. And so these short terms, these 3 months, is like where you're really wanting to see something happen in
Mhm.
3 months. There are those short term wins, which are really great, but looking at, that long term is really what you're wanting to focus on.
You hear that, people? Awareness is key, and that's what brings in the return on the investment, because when people know about you, they're able to
Yeah.
support you, which is very cool. Um
So no, it's not for just big organizations.
no,
And
answer is no. The answer is no. And that awareness is really important for um where we are locally, because
yeah.
Houston is not only philanthropic, but there are a lot of nonprofits here. So you have to know how to differentiate who you are, and have your voice be heard. So
Hmm.
it's truly key. Let's run into some practical strategy.
Okay.
What makes a nonprofit story newsworthy?
So there's an academic answer to this, and then there's more, of course, the practical side of it, and a lot of it just comes with experience. But the academic side, I'll start there, because a lot of people didn't take, media or
Right. Right.
PR classes in schools. But there are a handful of really ways you can see if a story is newsworthy or not, and you have to hit at least three of them for media to even consider it. So take, for example, proximity.
Yes.
Okay. We have physical proximity. And that is, say we're in Houston and it's happening in Houston.
Hmm.
So Houston media is going to be interested in something that's happening in Houston.
Right.
Physical proximity, right? And that means, like, if you're talking about community impact and maybe something is happening in Tomball, you reach out to the Tomball Community Impact because they care. The one in,
In
everywhere
Sugarland,
in Sugarland
it's
is
not
not
going
going
to
to
care.
care.
No.
So don't reach out to them, right?
Yep.
Proximity is very important when you're
Absolutely.
doing that kind of outreach. Same thing with community members. You're not going to go out to Katie for something that's happening in the Woodlands,
Right.
So it's just like you're just know your audience, know where they're at with proximity. So newsworthy element to that proximity, but not just physical proximity, emotional proximity.
Yes.
And that I think it's overlooked a little bit, the power of the storytelling, that emotional impact where you relate to people who have had kids, or in the ones with missing pieces support group, you're looking for, like the families who have also experienced loss.
Mm-hmm.
And so that emotional proximity is something that, like, when you're talking with, cancer treatments, if you're talking like about, it could be something even positive, though, people who have dogs versus people who have cats or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
just, I worked with one of my clients who, she doesn't have anything to do with dogs, but she has a dog and she knows safety. And so this is April. This is pets first aid safety, like, awareness month, right?
Oh, okay.
And so she knew enough to where, like, she was like, yes, like, I know about pet safety because I also study other safeties, and she has a dog who's very well behaved on camera. So we
Mm-hmm.
got
Oh,
a
nice.
media interview and got more brand exposure, even though it really had not like a direct connection, but kind of adjacent, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so thinking outside the box in that way of thinking of the emotional proximity. So in other words, impact, right? There's other ones too that we don't want to get into as a nonprofit, like conflict, like that
Yes.
makes something, or breaking news.
Oh,
We don't
yeah.
want to be a part of any breaking news.
No, not the bad kind, for sure.
Human interest elements, something that is surprising. There's also prominence. So if somebody whose importance going to be there, like the mayor or maybe a Houston Texan or
Mm-hmm.
something like that is prominence. So that's another reason why media might want to cover it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things, and I think one thing that, and I know this wasn't a part of your questions either, but let me say, one of the things that I get a lot is that they don't understand why they're sending a media like their press release, or they're sending
Mm-hmm.
media their information about this event that's going on. Like, why am I not getting a response back? Why is there no? You get that all the time, right? Like, why are you not getting a response?
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, journalists, assignments desk, editors, they're receiving thousands, with a plural, of emails per day.
That's
Per day. And they have to sort through all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're immediately like getting rid of all the ones that don't have anything to do with the proximity, or they're looking for newsworthy elements, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if something's maybe interesting, they might flag it for putting it in the calendar.
Yep.
But there's like, again, hundreds then of those that are flagged to put in the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
I remember working in the news. It was on a weekend shift at KHOU, and I had somebody. It was a public relations professional call me, and this is where you're a good PR person versus a bad one, right?
Mm-hmm.
They called me in the middle of like, Saturday morning. We were putting together the morning show, and she's like, "Why is nobody here at my event?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Good morning.
It's like, I sent you guys all this information and you guys aren't here. And I'm like, we don't even have a photographer this morning. We are short staffed.
Uh-huh.
Quite literally, I'm the only person in the newsroom. The assignments editor was, on the way, but was running a little late.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to get into the booth to produce my show right now. We don't have anybody who's be able to go out that morning, and they're short staffed in the newsroom. So my job as a PR professional now, on the other side of the curtain, is making the journalist's job as easy as possible.
And you do that well, my friend. Like, I can speak as a client. You prepped us with questions, scripts, all of the things, and you also sent that to the reporters.
Yes.
So,
I would even write their intros for them if they needed. I would
yes.
write their questions for them if they needed it. Provide all the visual materials. I mean, they know whenever they see something from me in their inbox that it's
taken care of.
It's gonna be newsworthy. First
Yes.
of all, it's already been vetted.
Mm-hmm.
That this is something that is worth their attention to at least look over, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that is something to where I have a reputation with, my audience was with media there, but also, it's helping my clients that I work with too. And so that's another mutually beneficial part of that.
Absolutely. Here's another practical question. What's one thing that nonprofit leaders and orgs can start doing this week to increase their visibility?
I'm actually gonna go to social media on this one.
Okay.
Mhm.
Love it. Say more.
So, one thing I actually, I see a lot, is that a lot of nonprofits don't have a LinkedIn page.
Oh, yes.
And they're
LinkedIn
really like
is
they have an
key.
Instagram or Facebook,
Mhm.
primarily. I wouldn't get into TikTok unless you can actually manage the TikTok,
Mhm.
But when it comes to LinkedIn, having a company page and then having their executive director, their board members, or leadership team also engaging with that page.
Yeah.
And so what it looks like. If you haven't already gotten started with a LinkedIn page, do get started with it, because that's where you find a lot of your donors and businesses who
Mhm.
find you too. They see your content there, they share it. It's more of a business minded, especially if you're trying to get
Absolutely.
donors.
It's a
Um,
great place to build relationships too.
yes, so different audience, right? You're
Mhm.
with your Instagram and your Facebook, you're really building your community within the nonprofit.
Right.
Volunteers or
Mhm.
people, participants in the events. But when it comes to LinkedIn, it has a different kind of strategic approach. And so there in LinkedIn, for example, I'm sharing some of my secrets here. But
Do tell.
they do, they do look at hashtags a little bit more there. So the things that, if you have something that you are subject matter expert on, or something that you are talking about that has a wider net, like say Pregnancy Loss Prevention Awareness Month, or Pregnancy Loss Awareness Month. So you look at that and it's a hashtag in itself. Also Events Houston, or hashtag HOU News if you're in Houston, or wherever your city might be for that. But those hashtags mean a lot there. So having like your community, your company page, and then that's just standard of like what's going on, keeping updated. Have use the feature for the newsletter there.
Mhm.
The articles, really it's more like articles where you can post the same articles you have on your blog. You can still link it to your blog, but posting the same articles you have on your blog on your website, which another thing, if you don't have a blog yet on your website, you should probably get one just for SEO purposes, if nothing else. And Jamil will tell you all about the
Mhm.
marketing
Oh yeah.
aspect of that.
Yeah.
But then also your executive director needs to be very active.
Agreed.
So
So let me call this out. There is a difference between a personal profile on LinkedIn
mhm,
and your business page, as Felicia has stated here. You need both, right?
yes.
One, the personal for the relationship building, and so that you as an executive director can comment and share and be engaged with that company page. But that company page also helps bring some credibility
Mhm.
to people that can help you in your mission work.
And not only that, there's also the technical aspect of like the more places you can have your link of your
Yes.
for your pages, the more visibility you have on Google and that kind of thing. But I'll tell you on the PR aspect of that, people do business with people,
Right.
and I don't want to make that like don't expect people to interact with your business page, like if you or your organization's page on LinkedIn. It's more about like again the executive director or like the people who are there who are sharing the content,
Mhm.
providing a little extra input. But on top of that, if they could do anything today, and if they already have the LinkedIn presence, that's great. But starting with just LinkedIn rewards those who are social on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So I would just spend 5 minutes. If you have like 5 minutes a day,
Put it in your calendar. I have a daily reminder.
and like the content of those maybe who you want to be donors one day, or the ones who are already on your list of just those relationships to building, like if they're sharing something really exciting that's happening in their world, like it
And comment.
and
And comment.
comment and
Yes.
share it if it's something that's
Yes.
relevant.
Absolutely.
They remember that. And not only that, like when I say that LinkedIn rewards those who are social, that means that your page is going to be seen a lot more on their page.
That's right.
And so the more that you're keeping top of mind, whenever you start asking for donations, you have a sponsorship, package available and you're sharing that on LinkedIn, they are going to see it, you know?
Absolutely.
And that's kind of like the strategy behind the LinkedIn, a little secret sauce, if you will.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll take all the secret sauce you have. Um, so on the flip side of that coin, you've just shared what's one great thing we can do to increase visibility. What's one of the biggest common mistakes that you see nonprofits making in this
Again,
space?
if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. And
Yes.
it's really just about not getting started sooner and not having a strategy in place. thinking that, and a lot of times they'll see this where you want to have this like maybe a grand event or something, but you don't have the resources yet to back it up. And you're just if you can't just like throw everything at it, like throwing darts at a dartboard while blindfolded.
Yeah.
That's
not a great strategy.
It's not a strategy,
it's
right?
not a strategy, but some people are leaning into that. Let's just toss it out there and see what's going to happen.
So I will say they focus too much on the tactics rather than the strategy.
Right.
And there's a big difference between the strategy and the tactics, right? Like, if you're using media relations, for example, as part of your strategy, so you're looking at like why. You're looking at the why we're doing this. And then the tactics are like what we're doing. So like build a media list, start training spokespersons, those kinds of things. But if everybody's not on board for the overall, reason why we're doing this, you're gonna have a bad time.
Absolutely. Let's talk about something fun. So, to our audience that's watching today, Felicia is going to be our next featured presenter at Sunday Social. Yes, I am super excited to have you come and talk about let's continue the conversation, should we say, around PR.
Yeah.
So that's happening May 17th, 2026. I don't know how far or late in advance you're watching this. From 11 to 1 at the Jewelry Instructors Bead Bar. And we're going to have her as a featured presenter. We're going to have some very meaningful panelists in the room.
So excited to
continue the conversation. And then we'll have a breakout session opportunity where we can practically apply what you guys are teaching us that day.
That is right. So, yeah, the three panels that you have coming up, Bridget Waugh.
Yes.
Bridget is amazing. She's and we also have Robin Egbert. She's going to be the next year's PRSA president, Public Relations Society of America president, and she's also working a lot with FIFA right now.
Oh wow!
With the World Cup, yes. A lot of the transportation situations that we're having here with
our non-existent transportation system.
Yes, she's communications with the Houston Galveston Area Council.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
wonderful.
Yeah. So, and then we also have Angelique Myers Evans, where she's the communications director over at Transtar, and she's also this year's PRSA president. Really a lot of different perspectives on this. So
yeah, I love it. And you inviting your colleagues, that just leans into our mindset of community over competition, because when you have colleagues like that, iron sharpens iron. There may be a specialty that they lean into more than you do, and I'm just excited about the educational opportunity y'all are bringing to Sunday Social.
Which I also teach over at the University of Houston, and I've brought in some of my colleagues before to teach the youngers, which is another younger like PR professionals in the field, and they're really just wealth of knowledge and PR in the field, and like decades of, you're gonna have like the entire panel, decades worth of experience there.
So if a nonprofit leader were to invite a friend to attend, who should they bring with them? Who should be in the room that day so that they have the right people in the room to take the information back?
Whoever handles the communications, the social media profiles, the website.
Yes.
So communications center, who handles that? Sometimes it is just the executive director with wearing all sorts of hats, but somebody who is in charge of those aspects within the organization. Definitely bring.
That's great. Thank you for sharing these insights today. Again, join us in May if you want some more PR information and how to level up in that lane. But before we close out, I'd like to have some fun.
Okay.
How about that? Let's do some rapid fire.
Let's do it. Yeah.
You ready? Okay. Quickly.
I haven't seen these questions ahead of time, so.
Yeah, this was a surprise for her. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Early morning riser or night owl?
Night owl.
Story or statistics?
Story.
Okay. One platform nonprofits should not ignore. I think you answered that.
Yeah, LinkedIn.
Yep. Biggest PR mistake nonprofits make?
I mean, not involving their communication team early enough in the planning process.
That's a great call out. This has been great, Felicia. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank
Where
you.
can our audience find you online?
Yeah, follow me on social media, Far Public Relations, Felicia Perez. And if my website's farpublicrelations.com. Feel free to please send me a LinkedIn request, message me. Also, you can email me. Totally great with that too. Felicia, Felicia at farpublicrelations.com.
Don't email me, guys. I suck at email. It's been great. Thanks for
Thank
joining the show
you.
today. Y'all take
Thanks.
care.